Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear listener, inshallah, you are in the graces of the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of my favorite verses from one of my favorite chapters in the Quran is the verse Maliki Yawmiddin in Surah Al-Fatiha. Maliki Yawmiddin, it's a verse we are familiar with, and Surah Al-Fatiha is a chapter that we recite in every unit of every prayer, in every rakat of every salah. And the meaning of the verse is Allah is the king or the master of the day of recompense or the day of judgment. And why I particularly like this verse very much is that it's a keen reminder that one of the most important days in our existence, and note the choice of words, I'm using the word existence and not life, that one of the most important days of our existence is the day of Qiyamah. We have many days in our life where we are anxious, we have a sense of trepidation for. To a child who is studying and in school, they look what a sense of anxiety at the exams, and they worry what their report card will they pass or fail. Those who are writing their matrics, the matric year, they will be writing their final exams, and they will anticipate their marks. University, business, people in their career. There are always big days in our life, and one of the biggest days in our life is the day that we pass away. But the biggest day in our existence, the day we stand before our Creator. And on that day, Allah declares that He is the owner of that day. That Allah is in charge of our destiny, whether we spend an eternity in pleasure and Jannah, or whether we spend an eternity in Jahannam and agony and pain. May Allah forgive us and protect us all. So when I think of this verse, it's a verse about humility. And the reason being is that when a person recognizes that ultimately my fate and destiny is not in my control, but it is in control of someone else, and it's a much greater power, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person reflects and thinks that, hey, I may think that I am right in life, but what if on the day of Qiyamah Allah tells me no? And there are various ahadith and stories of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that indicates and shows that a person will feel that he is correct in life, but on the day of Qiyamah, who will tell Allah that if Allah declares that somebody is going to Jahannam, who will tell Allah otherwise? There's no connections, there's no context, there's no bribery, there's no I know somebody or I can make a deal. It's absolutely nothing. There is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this verse is a verse of humility. That Allah, you know better and I don't know. And that is why the very next verse is Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. That Allah, you guide us to the straight path. A person can only ask for directions or for guidance when they don't know the way. And this Allah has prescribed in the Quran. Allah is not requesting, Allah has placed it there, and we read it in every unit of prayer. That Allah, you in charge of the most important day of my life. And Allah, guide me to the right path. That Allah, I don't know. So it's a declaration again of humility. That Allah, I don't know. We may study, we may have knowledge of deen, we may be doing the rituals that are expected of us, we may be performing our 5 daily prayer. But at the same time, we have to be very careful. There's many ahadith that speak about those who have dedicated their life for the sake of deen, that have worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala devoutly. But sometimes the smallest of actions, and because of that, Allah had placed them in Jahannam. So may Allah forgive us, may Allah protect us. And that is where humility comes from. If we reflect and look at the lives of the Sahaba, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu would say that he lives his life between hope and fear. And that is why we have this hope and fear. We have hope for Jannah and fear for Jahannam. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu would say that if there was just but one person in Jahannam, I fear that person would be me. And we are talking about such a great individuality. We're talking about the personality of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was already declared successful by Allah in the Quran, by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a hadith. But he said, I fear that I will go to Jahannam. And if you, the same Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, on the point of hope, that if there's one person going to Jannah, then I have hope from all of creation, only one person. I have hope that I am that person. So, this should be the mindset of every believer, that we aspire towards goodness and we have hope for success. At the same time, we are fearful and steer away from wrong as much as possible. And we have this fear of the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because on the most important day of our existence, there is only Allah. We need to turn our attention to Him. We need to constantly ask for guidance. We have to constantly seek the correct path and reflect on a daily basis that Allah, am I doing things correctly or not? Allah, please guide me and you help me. May Allah keep us in His mercy, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah guide us and may Allah forgive us. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.